Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Security Token Show interview. This time we are hosting Anthony Moro from ProvLabs and Cole Snell from Infineo. Gentlemen, how are you today?
Good morning, Jason. Good to see you.
Good morning. Doing great. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us. You guys have some rather recent news on milestones. You guys have reached or crossed $125 million worth of tokenized life insurance policies issued through Infineo and on the Provenance Blockchain. So congratulations, first of all, on that milestone. Tell us a little bit about, for our audience that maybe not as familiar, what is the concept of tokenizing life insurance policies?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I think actually today we're at 137 million. So things are flying. It's exponential. And that's really why, at Infineo, at least, we did maybe a year or two of work laying down the groundwork for what we call, use case. Why do you need blockchain for that? We looked at the life insurance industry as a highly misunderstood asset class and realized really quickly that the life insurance needs blockchain more so than blockchain probably even needs life insurance. So really, it had to do with use case, tokenization, obviously, whether it's smart contracts, governance models. It all just kind of lent itself really, really well to some of the problems that the life insurance industry has today.
And what would some of those problems be, if you can expand on that?
Oh boy, how much time do we have for? Let's just think about an asset class. Like it's just a really misunderstood asset class. Like if I walk into a room and I say I do two things: I do tech and I do life insurance. So if I walk into a room and I say life insurance, I clear the room. Mm-hmm. If I walk into a room and I say tech, I'm kind of interesting. People are like, oh, blockchain, what's Bitcoin? Blah blah blah. And it's kind of cool. The thing that people don't understand about life insurance, it's a globally almost a $4 trillion asset class with super high Sharpe ratios, very low volatility. It's risk adjusted, it's uncorrelated, and there's no secondary market. I mean, let's just start there. I mean, how is that even possible? And there's no regulatory hurdle for the lack of secondary market. So those are just a few things.
Interesting. And my understanding is that the tokenized life insurance policies are also not going to be trading on the secondary market, unless I'm wrong. But are there other liquidity options that you guys kind of have planned for these?
Yeah, they'll be trading on the secondary market, 100%. Okay. Yeah. So yes, that is the primary function. So the 37 million of life insurance on this guy's blockchain right now will the second thing we're going to do now that we've ledgered that. They will be turned into backed non-fungible tokens and set up through what will be a digital security intermediary for trading. So that's literally what ProvLabs and Infineo are building. As Anthony and I sit here, there's a bunch of people in another room with fingers on keyboards building that.
Got it. And Anthony, why don't you tell us a little bit about why ProvLabs might be a solid choice for Infineo in terms of the tech behind these tokenized life insurance policies and what you guys are bringing to the table here.
Yeah, so you have to take it back to Mike Cagney and Juno, who founded Figure Technologies and the Provenance Blockchain 5 or 6 years ago now, with the intention to disrupt consumer lending, particularly home equity line of credit and mortgage. They've since built Figure Technology Solutions into that business. It's the largest issuer of home equity line of credit, non-bank issuer of home equity line of credit in the United States. And they've got dozens of partners: Guaranteed Rate, Movement Mortgage, Home Point, and they're actually ledgering something like 15% of all HELOCs issued in the U.S. this year will be issued on the Provenance Blockchain by Figure and their partners. This makes HELOCs the first and only asset class to have been disrupted by blockchain, which is a really interesting statement. We see lots of other use cases, and I think insurance might be the next one. But still, every other use case is a small fraction of 1%. If you look at private funds or tokenized treasuries or even stablecoins, still a fraction of 1% of all the outstanding assets. But HELOCs is about 15% and growing because it's cheaper, faster, and safer to issue a home equity line of credit on blockchain than it is in the TradFi way. So we looked at that construct and we said, okay, what other asset classes might be able to fast follow in the Figure footsteps? And it really is all types of financial assets that are not securities. So a HELOC, when you just create one loan, or a private credit or mortgage, it's not a security when you create it. When you bundle them together and you trade them, it is a security. Life insurance is very similar. One life insurance policy does not a security make. If you bundle them together and trade them, it is a security. But blockchain, doesn't really care about the asset class. It cares about obviously security regulations because that's a bunch of problems that you have to put on top of it. But when it's a non-security asset, it's a lot easier. You can register, you can ledger, and then you can exchange. So what we've done with Infineo so far, and what Infineo has done with us, is they've put $130+ million of life insurance on chain, and that is just the registry. It's akin to putting a HELOC on chain. And then the next steps obviously are to put it into a security type construct where you warehouse it, and then you can trade the loans or trade the life insurance policies in a decentralized marketplace going forward. So that's the plan. Infineo is going to fast follow in Figure's footsteps, and they're going to be equally as successful as Figure over time.
Very, very interesting. So I want to touch on that, both on the buy and sell side, who is your target audience here in terms of, who you're expecting to kind of issue these more through Infineo and ProvLabs, and as well, who you expect to be kind of buying these, if there's a certain, person that or persona that you're kind of targeting to be able to buy and trade these assets.
Yeah, sure. It's a good question. So we take a staged approach to doing that, and we follow essentially SEC guidelines on who we can sell to, and kind of overlap that with what we have ready to sell. So we're kind of looking at a Reg D customer, we're looking at a Reg S customer, and then we're looking at a full registration type customer. So in the US, it'll be an accredited or likely institutional customer right out of the gate. We expect to sell our first block of Sound Token. We expect to distribute $10 million of Sound Token by the end of the year. We're on pace to be able to do that. We had some really good news yesterday in terms of an origination partner that we're bringing to the table. We'll likely have a term sheet signed with them, hopefully by the end of this week. So super excited about that. And then moving into the Reg S, I was just down in Latin America for almost a month, carving out some opportunities there. There's a big demand in Latin America for the Sound Token because it's US dollar denominated, exposure to USD. High Sharpe ratio again, high IRR, fixed income alternatives. So it's like, does the Latin Americans want to own USD? Yes. How do they want it formatted digitally? So check. And then we'll go full exemption, full registration, SEC probably sometime mid to late 2025. We actually have started the application, but it's a bit of a drag doing that.
Got it. And can you expand on that Sound Token? Is the Sound Token what represents that essentially pool of tokenized life insurance policies, or is this something separate?
Yeah. So one of the things at Infineo that we're really obsessed with, and I have to thank Anthony and his mentorship, around this. And again, all that we do really is just take a chapter out of the Figure playbook. Why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we look at what Figure is doing and what Mike has done and the entire team, and just kind of learn from him, learn from them? It's just pretty obvious. The Sound Token is the digital security. It's kind of the fourth step of 5 towards what we call becoming digitally native. Why we like life insurance so much is because let's think about this. Think about the first sentence in the Satoshi Bitcoin white paper, which, to paraphrase, I don't have it exactly memorized, but it was something about peer-to-peer electronic money, something like that. So the peer-to-peer piece is really interesting. The governance piece is really interesting. Life insurance is essentially peer-to-peer. Life insurance is human insurance, essentially. So the natural governance that blockchain from a peer-to-peer basis lends itself to this asset class is quite organic. So it really lends itself to becoming purely digitally native. So Sound Token is the fourth of 5 steps to becoming digitally native. Sound Token is basically an asset-backed security. It's a fractionalized pool and a bankruptcy remote, SPV, and then distributed through different exemptions. Right now, this first 10 million that we will sell in the next couple months has a guarantee of 2% above the 10-year. Essentially, is kind of the marketing around it. So we're pretty excited about being able to make that marketing claim.
Okay, that's interesting. Awesome. So you have an origination partner that you guys should be signing soon. You have the Sound Token that should be distributing more towards the end of the year. What can we expect for next year and years to come as this industry kind of grows and as you guys mature?
Next year, the plan is to sell 500 million worth of Sound Token by the end of Q2 2025. And by the end of 2025, we will have launched our fully digitally native asset, which is a direct issue life insurance policy issued directly off the blockchain. I think the life insurance industry can be put on notice, and I'm happy to say this openly and publicly, that the price of life insurance is going to come way, that's 3 ways down. The speed at which it's issued is going to go way up. There's going to be less discrimination. And most importantly, by taking this highly misunderstood asset class that's been in a very centralized, archaic industry. I mean, since 1847, one of the major innovations technologically in life insurance has been DocuSign. And that was force-fed because of COVID a few years ago, because FedEx and UPS wouldn't deliver the paper life insurance policies for wedding signatures to the millions of people piling into them because they all thought they were dying from COVID. So they were forced to adopt. They're like, oh, they went to InsurTech Las Vegas last year, and everyone around in the life insurance industry is bragging about all these big technical innovations. I'm like, yeah, guys, it's called DocuSign, right? And you were forced to do it.
Wow.
So, yeah, super frightening.
Transference in tech there.
Yeah.
And if you think about what Figure has done with HELOCs, Infineo is just following exactly that playbook. So Infineo spins up a home equity line of credit. They say you can get a decision in 5 minutes, you can get funding in 5 days, and that's all great. And a lot of that is Web 2, but where the Web 3 blockchain technology comes into, it makes the process for issuance to warehouse to final securitization done 150 basis points on the notional value less expensively than the TradFi version. And you just simply, you cannot compete with those kind of cost savings if you're not using the Figure process in HELOC. And I imagine the same thing will happen in life insurance.
Got it. So not for sure, we don't have that stat yet on savings as it applies to life insurance, but you're saying because of the way it's structured, it should be similar to how the Figure HELOCs have performed.
Yeah, probably exponentially more, because there's just a lot more, not meat, but fat on the bone of the life insurance industry. I mean, right now, our economists and our actuaries, we're running models just by looking at, if you look at the administrative pipeline of life insurance right now, without getting into, say, user interface, engagement, or underwriting, just the administrative, the meat in the middle of the sandwich, we're looking at close to 60% cost savings just by replacing smart contracts with paper contracts. The life insurance industry is so highly siloed. I mean, let's just really be honest here, and this needs to be said out loud and publicly. If you look at a $10,000 premium payment into a term life insurance for the average kind of American or person, in the world, you got to think about the people getting paid in this process. So first off, the life insurance agent that sold that is the highest paid financial salesperson in the entire world. In most countries, and this is consistent around the world, if I'm a life insurance agent and I sell a policy for $10,000 annual premium payment, I'm getting paid somewhere, believe it or not, between $8,000 to $10,000. Okay, wow. No wonder everyone is piling into trying to become a life insurance agent. One of the issues is they give out these life insurance licenses in Cracker Jack boxes. It costs $350 to get a license. You've got 4 or 5 times to fail the test. You got to get 60% and it's multiple choice. Now you're licensed to sell the most highly commissioned, most complicated financial product in the world. No wonder it's misunderstood and misrepresented. There's massive chargebacks and low persistency. Again, AI and blockchain, AI in this case, solves a lot of these issues. Okay, now guess who else has to get paid? The BGA. And guess who else? The IMO. What about the carrier? Yep, they got to get paid, and the reinsurer. So if $10,000 bought our friend, say, $250,000 of death benefit to cover his family, how much was the net cost of pure insurance in that? After all these people got paid, what did the insurance cost? I'm not going to answer the question right now, but trust me, it's a fraction of that $10,000. Now, what can blockchain do to take that value and maybe put some of it into our pockets, or our investors, or our shareholders' pockets, or back into the pockets of the people that need to manage the risk?
Wow, that's really interesting use case again for blockchain technology as a whole, but as it relates to something that's a problem for many in this industry, and that affects pretty much everyone. Right? It is life insurance, so really interesting stuff.
And the thing, Jason, it's not sexy. These are back office processes that are being disintermediated and intermediaries that are being disintermediated. And that's what makes the Figure HELOC process work. That's what's making Infineo work. It's not an airdrop. It's not a meme coin. It's not someone with laser beams coming out of their eyes. It's not sexy, but it's reforming integrated financial services and disintermediating fees. But it has massive societal benefit in that in the HELOC instance, borrowers are getting a lower rate. In insurance, their borrowers are getting multiple benefits up and down the line.
Yeah, and this kind of goes back to my earlier question on distribution of your target audiences, because you have on one side of the tokenization spectrum the really fun tokens. You have the Wofford F, football club and so forth, and Pressman Films that are really exciting, kind of fan-based assets. And then you have things like these, which are more for operational efficiencies. Still have an impact on people, but again, who's really going to be buying these and trading these? Obviously, that's a little bit more of a segmented audience, it sounds like.
Yeah, awesome. For sure. Yeah, for Infineo, when we're looking at say distribution and communities and how what audiences we're going after, again, we're just taking chapters from the Figure playbook. Figure has a massive community. Community is everything in any business, anywhere. I'm not a big fan of spending money on advertising, because if your advertising dollars are the thing driving revenue, when your advertising budget dries up, if your revenue dries up, your business dries up. So you have to generate revenue and attraction through earned media, through community, through Metcalfe's law, through Reed's law, through network effects. The best community right now in RWA, crypto, whatever you want to call it, is the Figure ecosystem. It's the system that's built to last. It's the system it's here today. It's being built for tomorrow. And this is the community that we want to be involved in. I mean, for us to choose the Provenance blockchain, we spent as much as Anthony and I, over the process became friends. We still, just because we were friends, weren't going to just choose the Provenance blockchain because I liked him and his family. It really kind of came down to a business decision at the end of the day. We took our sweet time making that decision, and we kind of interviewed all the blockchains to build on. At the end of the day, when we did our work, and we spent close to a year, really, before we dove head first. So happy that we did, and I'm not just saying that because he's my friend and he's sitting beside me. It was the best decision that we ever made, and it was the most critical decision that we made. Was at what community, what chain, building on a blockchain is committing to a community. At the end of the day, that's really what it is.
Got it. Well, that's interesting. And I know we touched on ProvLabs. I think it makes sense, considering their history with Figure too. And if you're, kind of playing on a playbook, then obviously, why not? Why reinvent the wheel? But that being said, I did want to ask, and Anthony, sorry if you feel one way or another, but is there a future where this expands to multiple blockchains? And if so, what would drive that decision?
Yeah, I think there is. I mean, I think that's the, that we're open-minded, to that, of course. We've got people knocking on our door, still all the time right now, the more earned media that we get. But, as we see Figure expanding, as we see the community expanding, right now we're parked where we are. We don't have any plans in the immediate future, of going anywhere. One thing that, and I'm not going to get into a lot of detail on it, but ProvLabs and it's ProvLabs is different than Provenance, the foundation. So ProvLabs, which Anthony runs, and Infineo right now are working on a project together. It's a white label kind of quote unquote, token in a box type project that we're working on that will allow ProvLabs and Infineo as partners to move forward and build, say, quote unquote, like life insurance token in a box solutions that can be deployed on multiple chains and to multiple carriers. So it's very exciting. I mean, we look to offer this solution as much. I'm highly critical of the life insurance industry because someone just kind of has to be. And finally, the technology has kind of caught up to this solution. So it was actually Anthony's idea, truthfully, and he brought this to me a few weeks ago, and he said, look, we have a way to collaborate here. And instead of looking at the life insurance industry and other carriers even as competition, let's look at them as customers. Let's offer what we can build together as a collaborative solution for other people, so that what we're building and the brain damage that we're doing and the money that we're spending can be deployed to other people. So like a rising tides, approach to winning. And so to answer your question, then will other carriers decide to use what ProvLabs and Infineo has built on other chains? Likely. Do we care? Probably not, because we'll be part of the deal, so to speak.
I mean, again, following in the Figure footsteps, Figure is an originator, but Figure is more importantly a technology partner to many other originators. And Infineo can follow that same path as well. And they're never going to compete with the biggest insurance companies as an originator, but they can certainly be a technology provider to them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Appreciate it, guys. This is really, really interesting stuff. We're pretty much at time here, but if anyone wants to participate in your assets or work with either of you guys, how can they get best in touch with you?
For us, ProvLabs.io is the website. We're on Telegram, everywhere. A lot of stuff on LinkedIn.
Yeah, infineo.ai, infineo is the way to spell Infineo, infineo. .ai, and all the social platforms. We're just a search away.
Fantastic. Thank you, gentlemen, so much. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Jason.
Thanks, Jason.